All right, all you people. This is Aaron James Draplin, and you're listening to the Master of One podcast. Come to ddcbook.com, draplin.com, fieldnotesbrad.com, and listen to every single one of their podcasts twice. Okay, go.
Welcome to this Sandbox episode of the Master of One podcast, part 2 for this week. This week we take a short break from our regularly scheduled programming to talk about the amazing artists we've had on the show over the years and some of the lessons we've learned. I'm Andrew, your Master of Art and Design.
I'm Patrick, your Master of Television and Film.
And I'm Luke, your Master of Toys and Games.
So put your rebreather in place, because it's time for us to dive deep into the waters.
I don't know where it goes.
So typically when we do our Sandbox episodes, it is us interviewing somebody else who is just so much better than us, really. I mean, that's what you've come to expect from these Sandbox episodes. But this week, we're actually doing something a little bit different. We are going to explain some of the things we've learned, some of the lessons we've learned. We've spent time going over all of the guests we've had on the show over the years. We've been doing this thing for 3 years. You guys realize that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
we don't know
it's
when to stop.
ridiculous.
Luke looks like it's been 10.
Yeah.
Joke
Luke,
never gets old, guys.
Luke
Never
had
gets
a
old.
baby beard when we
Unlike
first
you.
started.
Yep.
His
Unlike
beard looked
me.
like your beard. But so what we decided to do is just go over, and we're gonna hand pick a couple of the things that we've learned, and we're just gonna dialogue about it for the next few minutes. And so I guess what we'll do now is just jump straight in, right? Is there anything else I need to say about it?
No.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So Patrick, why don't you kick us off with one of your lessons?
Absolutely. So, I think one of the things that has consistently come up, and we've seen this through many of the people we've talked to, although I think it got nailed in the JP Boneyard episode, but it's this idea that perfect is the enemy of great. Very often it's very easy, and it doesn't really matter which discipline. I mean, I tend to have this kind of stereotype I've assigned in my mind of like the fresh art school graduate, but the reality is it's everywhere. But we feel like that.
Also, I think art school graduates probably aren't fresh. They probably smell slightly sweaty.
Yeah. It's like must.
They've got paint under
Just
their
like a
fingernails.
No way they
must.
smell as bad as computer science graduates. Anyway.
It's true,
But
because they wear sweaters to keep their stink in.
That's right. It's very easy to believe that, we have to make this great first impression. So we can't put this out until everything is absolutely perfect. But frankly, that's just not the world we live in anymore. I mean, I think that the way I think of the comparison is maybe, print advertising, where you put something out and if the date's wrong, the date's just now wrong for everybody.
You change the date.
That's not the reality. For all this stuff that's digital now, we do have the ability to iterate. We have the ability to quickly make changes. I see this a lot on the computer side, and I hear it too in talks when like Draplin gives talks about, basically just saves are free and just throw out all your ideas. Like there's no reason to only save out the best one. You see it, the idea in a bunch of different places, but the point is the same. If you have something you're working on, you have an idea, just get to the first version of that and put it out into the world. Get feedback from people, get feedback from friends, get feedback from other artists, from colleagues, and then just iterate on it, and then put that out in the world, and then get feedback. The reality is the collective mind looking at it is going to get it to a better place than you would ever be able to get it to you on your own anyway. So anyway, I think that's great. I think we see this illustrated in a lot of different ways, but the short of it is perfect is the enemy of great.
Yeah, cool. Luke, why don't you take the next one?
Okay. This one is one that I think I am not good at, but Andrew's very good at, and something that I think has kind of gotten us to where we are. And it's this idea we got it from Mark Brickey from his episode, is ask beyond your level. And it's the idea of you're never going to know, you're never going to know until you ask kind of thing. So, we started the podcast. We wanted to talk to all these people and get these interviews rolling and get more into the industries that we loved. We started out just talking to friends, and we were trying to figure out how to get an actual artist or an actual creative that wasn't our friend. And so we just started emailing and asking people, and it just snowballed to where it is now. And the idea is that it's okay if you don't feel like you're at the place where you can ask. You're never going to get there until you start asking. It's a little bit the same as the, just start, but just ask.
Let me actually piggyback on that. Two pieces. Number one, there was a while I don't think we asked anybody, and it's because we just assumed we couldn't get anybody. So that's one correction I want to make, is that it's very easy to not do anything for different reasons. So, but yeah, once we did start asking, we realized that no, actually, people are very accessible, and so the thing I want to tack onto that. Certainly that's true for, let me say it this way. I just think that's true for anything. You missed out on that poster sale. Okay, email the artist and tell them you liked it and you'd still love to get a copy. Or you want a job at this place, but they don't have a job posting. Okay, find an email from someone at the company and just send them your resume anyway. I think it's just a really big thing, and you'll hear that a lot with the artists we talk to. But then, yes, just like you're saying, Luke, with just us being willing to reach out and talk to people, but just generally, like the life thing of just ask, because if you don't, then you're living the same scenario as if the person said no. You know what I'm saying? Like getting a no from someone is like exactly where you're already at, basically. So just ask. Anyway.
It's just your fears are confirmed if you get the no.
That's true. Yeah.
Dun.
So one of the lessons that I've learned over the years of doing this is every pro does it differently. Man, so I don't know if you're talking to Tom Whalen, Jared Mariyama, DKNG, any of these artists that we've talked to, and those are just a handful, they all accomplish the same, they are all using the same tools. They're all using the same Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop. That's it. Like no one out there is like using an old copy of Corel Draw or something, and nobody's using some random other thing. They're using the same tools, but they go about their work in completely different ways, and it's almost like there is no wrong way to do something, which is so outside of my mind of what has made sense to me my entire life. You think that you would go to the master and learn something from them, and you'd be learning the way to do it. But the reality is, you're just learning their way to do it. And what Tom and Jared Mariyama, so what Tom can do with creating shapes on, using his he uses a mouse, like a click mouse. What he can do using that, and what Jared Mariyama can do with gradients inside of Illustrator, and what DKNG can do with textures inside of Illustrator, every single one of them has completely different aesthetics of look, but they accomplish them in completely different ways, and they all make me sick because they're incredibly talented, and I just can't figure out how to do it. But every pro does it differently. Don't think there is one single way to do anything. Sure, maybe try out what your favorite artist does, but if you can't accomplish what they're accomplishing the way that they're accomplishing it, try a different way.
Totally.
And it's fine. It's totally fine. So that's one for me.
And I think that has also been really surprising for me. And it probably is more so for you just because you actually know what they're saying. It's a bit gibberish, some of these technical details. But at the same time, there is this assumption that once you hit a certain level that it's like normalized and that a best practice really is a best practice and everybody does it that way. And no, I mean, it's just...
That's not the reality. Yeah, it's nice to know that everybody's working artboard looks just as terrible as everyone else's. In my mind, I'm the only one whose working artboard looks like a garbage fire. But it's not. Like everybody's desktop is littered with all of their active reference images until they're done with the project. Everybody's artboard has 16 different versions of things that just didn't work out the right way. And I don't know, it's nice to know that we're all there. It's less nice to know that they make thousands of dollars and I can't.
Probably one day.
That's a personal lesson learned, I think.
Side note.
All right, so Patrick, take it.
Yeah, let's just round to this. Okay. In addition to getting to talk to people, the podcast is also kind of morphed into getting to like meet up with family and like have these meaningful moments and like share pieces of life together. Like the stuff that the podcast does, it extends well beyond the 2 hours of recorded audio every week.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the immediate next step you would see would be Slack community, but like these conferences we go to and these events and then to meetups, and there's just so many places where life gets to intersect. And out of that, there's some really cool stories that just have stuck with me. I think one of what is probably the most memorable one would be actually took place at Creative South this past year. So there's a lot of really bad weather that came through basically the day before the conference was going to start. And it was bad enough that a majority of people had their planes canceled, like their flights canceled. And it was just craziness. I mean, it was taking people 30 hours to get from point A to point B because they were getting stuck at airports and stuck at bus stations and just like all this craziness. And so
some people didn't even make it. Couldn't even make it.
Absolutely, yeah. They just had to call it off. I mean, craziness. So Jetpacks and Roller Skates, Blake Stevenson, we've had him on the show a couple times, talked to him, and just super talented guy, super talented illustrator. He was supposed to compete in Type Fight. Nope, not Type Fight. I said that wrong already. Ink Wars.
Yeah.
At the Bridge Party. And the Bridge Party is like kind of what kicks off the whole Creative South event. It's a really cool deal. And so he was supposed to be there. Well, he's coming from Toronto, and his flight, I think his guy canceled, and then there was only one flight coming out of Toronto, and the thing was booked. There were no seats, craziness. And so I was actually messaging him back and forth on Slack, and I was like, dude, just go to the airport. Because you don't know. Like, maybe someone doesn't show up. Maybe a seat opens. Maybe they're going to give somebody a jump seat. They're not. But who knows? I don't know. But if you're not there, then you completely lose the opportunity for that magic to happen. And so I was like, dude, just go to the airport. And so he did. He got all his stuff together, knowing he doesn't have a plane to get on. And he went and he stood at the airport. And lo and behold, he got put on a plane. I think Hayden Obey worked a little bit of magic. They ran into each other. That's another guy we've talked to on the show. But he went to the airport and was basically like, I don't have a seat, but I want to get on that flight. And he got on the flight and he made it down, and he literally, like, he makes it to Georgia just in time to walk up on stage and compete. And it was just like crazy timing, amazing. But that would have never...
Because of that, he won. He didn't win, but it would have been a way better end to that story.
Yeah, maybe we should just say he won. That's what we'll do.
In our hearts, he won.
But that
he won our hearts.
Yeah, he won, absolutely won. There's a great picture that shows him literally taking my heart from me, but not literally, because then I wouldn't be here. But the point is, just go to the airport, just be there. Because as much as if you do get a no from someone or you're not going to do the thing or whatever, you still need to put yourself in the position so that if something changes, you're there. Just because the opportunity hasn't happened yet doesn't mean you shouldn't always be positioning yourself to be ready to jump on that opportunity. So, don't have a flight. So what? Go to the airport.
I love it.
Luke. Take the next one.
All right. So the next one, this is one that is kind of, I think it's kind of obvious, but it's really hard for people to remember. it's the idea to play to your strengths and like use what you know. There's so many ways of doing things. Andrew's just talked about it. There's so many ways to get to the same end. And you don't have to do what somebody else does. If you know a certain way to do it, you can do it that way. Or if you know a certain medium. So we talked to Gary Ham, we talked to Lana Crooks, and this idea of Gary loved woodworking and knew how to do woodworking. And he also loved custom toys. And he was like, well, why can't I just do it in this medium? I know how to do it. I know, and it's not there. And he's made a living, and he's known for like the wooden side of it. And it's this idea of if it's not the normal, that's okay. If you are good at it, if it's what you know and you're comfortable producing that way, just go for it. There's no reason to think that you have to follow the conventions of what is common to make it in a certain space. So
totally. In that story, the thing that even like takes it a step further to me is that his toys are actually cooler, I think, because you get like all this weird texture and stuff from these imperfect wooden molds. It adds so much character to these toys that someone using a more conventional process wouldn't be able to get the same.
They wouldn't have it. They could. It's almost like I've seen other toys try to simulate wood, and it feels fake.
Yeah,
and
it's harder.
Yeah, and this. I remember having him on the show, and I don't know if it made it to the air or if this was part of the cut content, but I remember asking him like, "How do you get that wood look? Like, how do you do that?" And he was like, "Oh, I make it out of wood, and then I cast it from the wood model." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well that's simple." Like in my mind, I thought it was this big, like long, drawn out thing or this big process. No. Sometimes it's so simple that it's like right in your face and you just don't even see it. So
this is probably a good time to point out that he literally won a designer toy award this year for custom of the year for a giant wooden treehouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good.
Yep. And it's so good. And you mentioned Lana Crooks as well. I mean, so she's a seamstress, and what she can do with a needle and thread and some various fabrics, she can make felt fabric look like bone.
It's insane.
It's insane. And
that's not like some hidden meaning, like literal actual bones.
Yeah, like she makes them look like a skeletal structure, of animals and people, and it's insane. And she's using what she knows. She's definitely playing to her strength, and because of that, has found herself in a very, very high-end niche.
Yeah.
You know, like her stuff is not cheap, and she sells it. You know, and I think that's something to note.
Andrew, what's your second?
So my second one would be this. You guys have all heard of the concept of not giving away trade secrets, but let's play off of that for a little bit, because I think what we've learned a lot. You don't ever want
to do that.
Is trade secrets. Literally trade them. Give them, share them back and forth.
I don't know if people realize how clever that just was.
Oh, it's insanely clever. It's so clever. But trade secrets, for real. Mark Hemian, he didn't say this. He is not coined as penning this phrase, but he said it on the show. A rising tide raises all ships. And it's 100% true. If we take this approach of community, if we take this approach that if you get better, then you challenge me to get better, and then I challenge you to get better, then eventually we're all putting out our best possible work.
Yeah.
Hayden O'Bay contributes to this. David Igo from Sideshow teaches people how to use Maya. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, modeling. Yep. 3D modeling.
The modeling software. Von Glitchka is a huge proponent of this. He's literally written the book on how to do the things that he does to make money. And so
the Waylon, Matt Taylor, Kevin Tong show. They talked about doing Inforama how each of them just threw away so much artwork because they felt so personally challenged by what the people around them were doing.
Yeah, I love it. And it's this idea of trading secrets. So you might say, okay, well, Hayden Obey, he does this, but it's behind a paywall through his new platform. But before that was through Skillshare. Von Glitchka does it through Lynda, but there's it's a low paywall, first of all, but beyond that, they are so willing to share, to go back and forth. It's a way for you to hear from the masters themselves how to do this thing, and they're not sharing 90%. It's not like they're saying, do this, and this.
There's like one more step you have to figure out.
I have the secret sauce, but you don't get that. They're like totally free with all this information, and I love it. So yeah, trade secrets. A rising tide raises all ships. Let's raise all the ships.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. Okay, so this next one, and this might be the last round. I don't know if we'll get through many more, but this next one. I think I gravitate towards for a couple reasons. Number one, because I hate authority. Number two, because I hate rules. And then also I hate tradition because I feel like they all are kind of the same thing, which is something or someone telling me what to do. And so that being said, there's a lot of convention. There's a lot of knowledge that we just know. And I'm not even going to say assume. I'm going to say know because we're actively taught these things. Like this is something that everybody is saying to us constantly. And it can be very difficult to take a step back and just say why, or to actively go against it because it becomes such like deeply ingrained parts of us. And what I'm talking about, and I'm calling this one rewrite the rule book, in 10 different fonts maybe. But Bethany Heck is a great example of this. If you got to see her talk, she's done several this past year at different venues. The place where we got to hear was at Creative South 2 years ago. And the talk she gave was actually talking about type usage. And basically, I'm not sure what she was showing off because we were in and out of like the actual conference room. But, I know that she had like a business card that was laid out with like 10 different typefaces when convention would say, no, you don't do that. You don't use any more than 2, or you use 1 superfamily, or like whatever it is, right? 10, that's insanity. That means that you have a problem with your design you should have solved, and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah, you don't know you don't know the story you're trying to tell. You don't know who you are.
Exactly, and we can all rattle off those things because it's so ingrained, but again, why? She's able to pull off these incredible pieces, and if you're not familiar with her work, man, stop listening to us. Go look at Bethany Heck's work because you'll get it. She's able to pull off these amazing pieces that look incredibly, absolutely cohesive. Like one thing, it's not confusing or anything, or it's not mismatched or whatever. It is one cohesive, beautiful piece, but she might leverage 8 different font families in the process. And so the point is, not that you need to change your font usage, but the point is just throw away the rule book. Don't feel like you have to place these arbitrary constraints on yourself, even if the constraints are common knowledge. And if I can borrow a bit from what we learned from Allo founder, don't let me blank on his name.
Paul
Budnitz. Yes, I always want to say Budich. Budnitz and Budich are so similar. Paul Budnitz, if I can borrow from him, that's the idea that the new kind of the people that pave a new trail, that do an exciting new thing, are doing something that goes against conventional wisdom and understanding. If everybody thought and assumed something to be true, then they would already be doing it. So the only way that you're going to do something that feels original or cutting edge or whatever means that you have to do something that goes against some sort of common understanding. And so just keep that in mind, because we all talk about the fact that we want to do something that's like new and out there. And that may mean, again, throwing away the rule book. So another great example, if you go back and look through our archive, find the interview with Joey Cofone. It is chock full of that. Let me go and just it also is type related, but the dude is his number one font is Comic Sans. And already people are bristling and they have opinion. Go listen to the interview. It will change your, professional working life.
He won a design competition
AIGAX, yes,
around the parameters or around the concept that he developed with Comic Sans.
Yep,
and
it's incredible. And there's it's a 3 video series. We linked to them in our episode that we did with him. It's in the show notes. Go look up Joey Cofone AIGAX on YouTube, whatever. Watch those videos, because I'm telling you, as a designer, it will even if you're not a designer, whatever, as a professional creative, it will change your opinion about a lot of conventional knowledge, and it will force you to again rewrite the rule book. So, all right, Luke.
Okay, so we're doing the last ones, right? I think the one I'll pick, man, there's so many good ones that we have. The one, this idea, okay, so we all compare ourselves to other people. We all make comparisons of other people. And this happens a lot in the design and illustration world where, oh, that looks like somebody else. That looks like XYZ. Oh, somebody else is doing that same thing or whatever. And I think the main theme that we've learned talking to random different people is just you do you, even if somebody else does you. So if you find a style that makes you feel alive, if you find that design aesthetic that is truly your personality coming out, do it. Even if somebody else does it and it's a clear lookalike, who cares? Because like we've said before, a rising tide raises all ships. If we're all doing our best work and putting it out there, we're going to make each other better. And if you are doing you and being the best you that you can be and doing the work that is your true identity, even if somebody else is similar, who cares? Because you're actually putting yourself out there, and that's the key. It's so easy to look at other people and go, I can't do that because they're doing it. And if that's what speaks to you and that's the only way to get yourself out into the world, who cares? Just do it.
Yeah. Okay, so my final one is going to be, there's no place for ego, just be a person. In parentheses, or a man mountain. This one. So
who could this be about?
Yeah, exactly. So this is one that honestly we have felt this from just about every single guest we've had on.
Yeah,
we have. You could count on one hand the amount of people we've interacted with in this sphere, in this space, in the years that we've been doing this, that has really tried to big time us. That is too good to talk to us. And honestly, most of the people we talk to are too good to talk to us. And so, but here's what we learned from Aaron Draplin. So if anybody that we've talked to has reason to kind of shrug us off, he is a larger than life personality. If you've ever met him, if you've ever talked to him, if you've ever seen him speak, he is just a huge personality. And he's also incredibly successful. He's done so much. So he has an opportunity. At this point, he has, in a lot of ways, I'm air quoting here, earned the right to an ego. But he is the last person to have that ego and feel entitled to it. In fact, he speaks out adamantly against that kind of ego. And his whole deal is just be a person. Be a person who is flawed. Be a person who has seen tremendous joy and tremendous sorrow, and just be open with people, and don't get caught up in all of what he would say, don't get caught up in the bullshit of the work. the work is the work, and you can do good work, and that's great, but be a person when you're with people. Don't forget that people are just people. And man, he tells this story of interacting with Gene Simmons and just seeing him in the airport.
Oh yeah.
And I love that story because he pits himself against the situation where he's like, he used to think this one way about Gene Simmons, and now he has this other feeling. And he tells this story about a guy on the airplane with him. And it's just story after story after story where he has taken the opportunity to remind himself and then the people around him that people are people. So just be people to other people. And I think if we can do that, if we can remember that in every facet of our life, much less when we're talking to our design heroes or when we are the quote unquote design hero and we're talking to someone who looks up to us, keep that in mind. Keep your ego in check and keep in mind that people are just people and relate to people on a personal level. And I think we'll all be better off for it. And that is coming from the big teddy bear man mountain himself, Mr. Aaron Draplin.
That's a lot of good info.
It is a lot of good info. I think so. We spent a good amount of time curating some thoughts. We have a lot more than just those, and we're gonna try to fine tune these things a little bit over the next little bit. And this won't be the last time you're hearing some of these lessons. And one of the things that drives us to do what we do every week, and this is work. This is a lot of work. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. And one of the things that drives us to do this
equal parts. It is a simple syrup of work and fun.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the things that drives us to keep pushing forward is we keep getting nuggets of truth like this. We keep getting these truth bombs dropped on us every time we talk to somebody new. We see themes. Certainly, there are themes that we've seen. Like we could give multiple examples for all of these of people we've talked to. But the reality, when push comes to shove, is we are learning week in and week out from these people who have gone ahead of us and have made mistakes before us, and we get the opportunity and the honor of learning at their feet and learning from their mistakes and learning from their successes. And so that's why we're going to continue to do this and continue to push even further and harder to drive more and more content. And so, so if this is just 3 years, man, when we're doing this 3 more years, like what information will we have at that point?
It's all going to be robots.
Everything will be, and we'll store it in our iPhone 40, and it'll live in the cloud. Wait, what comes after the cloud?
The storm.
The storm. That was deep. I think you missed the metaphor a bit, but I like where you went. So, man, so maybe I'll throw out a challenge to you guys. What's one or two nuggets or lessons you've learned over, if you're a longtime listener of the show, drop us a line on Instagram, drop us a line on Twitter, hop in the Slack channel and say, some of the lessons you've learned over the years and who you learned them from, because it's not just about what we've learned, it's about what we learn as a community.
Yeah. Even if you're not a long-time listener, even if this is the first one you've heard. What did you learn
from what we've learned? So really curate it down. It's just going to be one thing from all of them. So anyway, I think we're going to call this one done, right, Patrick?
Absolutely.
So what happens on Tuesday?
Well, we have to draw tokens.
Nope, it's true. But what happens on Tuesday?
Then we'll talk about the categories that we chose on this episode.
Cool. What is the big thing that's happening on Tuesday?
The problem is, in order for me to tell you the big thing, I have to admit again that I messed up, Andrew. I was just trying to get through this episode
That's what you're trying to get to.
Yeah, so Tuesday is our first full episode that will be completely videotized. That's right. You will be able to see us on YouTube.
Term, by the way.
Our YouTube channel in full persons.
HD.
I don't know what to say. I was going to say.
It's not full persons though, because you're only seeing our chest up.
That's right. For some of us, that includes nipples. But yes,
Okay.
you will be seeing us. You'll be able to get the same great content you can get from iTunes, Stitcher, iTunes. But now you can go on YouTube and you can actually watch us. And that also means that when we talk about items, we can show you what we're talking about. Like you can see it with us and you can see us interact with it. You can see what's behind us. You can see when people sneak in. You can see Luke's face. There's so many just really big selling points for this. But the point is that begins Tuesday and every episode.
I love that the one you
out.
settled on was like the final one they're going to hear as a benefit is seeing Luke's face.
Do you think that's not a benefit?
Yeah,
I see
what are
your
you trying
face.
to say to my boy Luke?
I see your face regularly, and I'm just saying it's not a bad face. It's just that's the one that people are gonna like hear last. Like that's the one that's gonna ring on.
I'm okay with it.
The infinite.
I'm fine with it. Listen, I've been looking at my face more than anybody else ever, and I'm still fine with it.
Given how little Luke normally talks, the video just serves as confirmation he is still on the podcast. That's more of what it is. But yes, you'll be able to check that out starting on Tuesday. You can go to the channel now. There's a couple unboxing videos. We've been pushing some archive footage there, but again, it's audio with static imagery. Starting Tuesday, there will be actual video movement
with static imagery
happening. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Just around it.
So do that. Like Patrick said, go to iTunes and subscribe there if you haven't already done that. And rate and review while you're there. It helps us out a ton. Doesn't cost you any money and it takes very little time. If you do want to contribute financially to the show, if you like what you hear and you want to see us do more of this, the only reason we're able to shift to doing video content and putting out more stuff is because of our Patreons, or our patrons. So go to patreon.com/M-of-1podcast. Throw in $5 a month, and that gets you the blooper level where you get every month you get some extra content. You get access to a special Slack channel where we give you insight into things, a heads up on things. You get kind of Q&A stuff, and it's a good time. So if this strikes your fancy, throw a couple bucks in there, and that helps us out so much. And if you are already a patron, thank you for how you have supported what we're doing. We are going to be at Reimagine coming up. So if you aren't, if there's a couple tickets left, I think at this point, if you want to get your Reimagine tickets, now is the time to do it.
It's like less than 20. Like it's like not very many at all.
Very little. We're going to be out in San Francisco. We're going to be out in Anaheim. We're going to be in Costa Mesa. We will be in Austin for the for MondoCon and for Pop-Up Crop. That's going to be out there. So make sure that you just check our website. Go to mof1podcast.com where you can see a map that will help us or that will help you know where we're going to be and when we're going to be there. So we're going to be all over the place. It's a good time. We are all over the social media. Just search M-of-1 Podcast on all the different platforms. Connect with us on there. Join the Slack channel like we mentioned already. There are so many incredibly cool people on there. mof1podcast.com/Slack to join that. Sign up for our Extra Bits newsletter. We send stuff out in there. And it's going to be, we send stuff so infrequently, you'll forget that you signed up for it. But it's a good thing for you to do. That way you stay in the know on what's going on. And I think that's all the different things. But before we get out of here, we're going to draw tokens so that we know what we're talking about next week. So I've got the tokens. I'm going to shuffle them up. I'm going to face them towards me. Patrick, you are going to pick for Luke, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So why don't you give me the one on your right?
On my right?
Yes.
Luke, you got TV and film,
Huzzah.
my friend. And okay,
I feel like I should debate this, but go ahead.
Can I pick for Patrick then?
I reshuffled them. So yeah, I think you should pick for Patrick. It seems fair.
I think you should pick the one on your right.
That's toys and games. That means I have art and design. Congratulations, everybody.
We're doing it,
now
guys.
We know what we're talking about.
Actually, that works out great. So there's pie on your face.
Yeah, suckers. Okay. We're going to get out of here, though. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Luke.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butt.
So typically typically when we do our Sandbox interviews, there's someone that we're interviewing. Let me start over. Let me try this one more time.
Why?
Because that was stupid. All right.
At least you know.